The day was punctuated by video, much of it which had never been seen before, much of it security footage from actually inside the Capitol building itself. Senators could only watch on in horror as they saw how police officers were overwhelmed, how they sent frantic radio messages urging for help, how they stood against the violent tide that swept towards them, threatening to challenge the result of the presidential election at the very heart of American democracy.
The evidence will show that he clearly incited the January 6th insurrection. It will show that Donald Trump surrendered his role as commander-in-chief and became the inciter-in-chief.
That mob was summoned, assembled, and incited by the former President of the United States, Donald Trump. And he did that because he wanted to stop the transfer of power so that he could retain power.
This was never about pursuing legitimate claims. He was saying anything he could to trigger and anger his base so that they would fight like hell to overturn a legitimate election.
I would just stop. Dude.
This violent attack was not planned in secret. The insurgents believed that they were doing the duty of their president.
The Democrat impeachment managers also highlighted Donald Trump's criticism of Vice President Mike Pence, how he didn't have the courage to do his job. And then they showed the video of how close the crowd came to the Vice President and the awful consequences that may have followed.
This next security video shows that evacuation. You can see Vice President Pence and his family quickly move down the stairs. The Vice President turns around. As the rioters reached the top of the stairs, they were within 100 feet of where the Vice President was sheltering with his family. And they were just a feet away from one of the doors to this chamber, where many of you remained at that time. Vice President Pence was threatened with death by the president's supporters because he rejected President Trump's demand that he overturn the election.
The first critical hour and a half of this bloody attack, Donald Trump tweeted his rally speech and did nothing else.
Senators, you've seen all the evidence so far, and this is clear. On January 6th, President Trump left everyone in this Capitol for dead.
The Democrats may have moved some Republican senators with the audio and the video that they played today, but it's still unlikely they'll get enough votes to convict Donald Trump. But what they have done is lay the narrative of Donald Trump's final days in office and the assault on the Capitol on January the 6th, 2021.
Well, Jeff Hauser is a lawyer and executive director of the Revolving Door Project at the Center for Economic and Policy Research. He says the evidence presented is damning.
The strength of their case is commendable. They have distilled a complex event into a format that is easily understood. And I think if there were a secret ballot, they would get overwhelming support in the Senate. And they have done as good a job as is possible in making the determination of this trial not about the Democrats, but about the Republicans. The Republican Party is now on trial. The Republican Party can prove itself a meaningful part of a democratic society by voting to end Donald Trump's influence in the party and to convict him. Or they can retain Donald Trump as their leader in fact, even if not in title. And I think then Democrats will have their work cut out for them, but they will realize that the Republican Party is not a party with which you can cooperate if you believe in small d democracy and the rule of law. Donald Trump had been leading toward these events going back to June of 2020. He'd been laying the groundwork that if he is not declared the victor, it had to have been due to theft. But we now learn today that he had a phone call with Senator Tuberville of Alabama and heard about the duress that Mike Pence, his vice president, and the Senate was under. So we now know, we have a chronology of when did Trump know and what did he know and when did he know it. And then his failure to act for another couple of hours is incredibly damning and underscores the idea that what was occurring was not against his wishes, but was in fact an advancement of his wishes.